Hey everyone, welcome to our panel. Our panel is Muslim representation in the media. And welcome to Virtuous Con. And yeah, here we are. We can't wait to have some great conversations about Muslim representation in the media. So let's see the slides.
Do you see it?
I think it's like black on my end.
It will be a little delay.
Great.
You see it?
Yes.
Awesome. All right.
So yeah, the Muslim representation in the media panel. Thanks for joining us. Great. So who are we? So we are 2/3 of Religiously Nerdy, which is a blog and a podcast that where we were three Muslim women just talking about nerdy things like anime and pop culture and everything like that. So you can find us on Instagram at Religiously Nerdy and Twitter at The Muslim Nerds and our blog at religiouslynerdy.com. So to start this conversation, does anyone know of any Muslim representation in the media? You can like put it in their chat or anything like that. And yeah, and I'm asking this question, first of all, because it's just when you think about this question for us, it's really hard to just think of like a few characters. And it sucks that we don't have a lot of representation out there. And it's important to have this because when you see Muslim rep, a majority of it is negative, unfortunately. So we want to see better representation out there. And so, yes, Miss Marvel and Mo. Yeah.
Of course, that's the big one. I feel like Miss Marvel would be the one that people will talk about if they hear about it because it's in like main Marvel. Everyone knows Marvel, right? So yeah.
Oh, I see in the chat that there's a comic book from Ariel from Amalgam. I've never heard of it, but oh, that's a cool Iranian vampire racist slayer. That's interesting.
It's a lot of words.
I'll go look into that. And well, cool. Any other representation you can think of? For me, growing up, you like barely saw Muslim rep until I think like the first time you've seen it was from like Degrassi. I don't know if anyone watched Degrassi, but there were some Muslim representation in there.
Yes.
But it was like interesting to see that. But yeah, and it sucks because you're like you're Black also. So even if you see a Muslim, they're barely going to be Black as well. So like it's just like we want to see more Black Muslims as well. And yeah, cool. Blade would be cool. I can't wait for Blade. Yes, and Mahershala Ali, I love the actor.
He's an amazing actor. Also, I think he's like one of the first Muslims to like win an Oscar. So that's really cool.
So really cool. All right. So we're gonna talk more about, we can go to the next slide. So there is a risk test out there. It's kind of like a Bechdel test for women. So if you don't know what the Bechdel test is, the Bechdel test is where you have to have two women and they have to have names and not talk about men in the conversation. So the risk test is kind of different in that it's for Muslims. So if you answer yes to any of these questions on the risk test, you fail it. So the questions are, is the character that you're talking about, is it a victim of or a perpetrator of terrorism? Are they represented as irrationally angry? Are they represented as superstitious, culturally backward, or anti-modern? Are they presented as a threat to the Western way of life? And if the character is male, is he presented as misogynistic, or a female, is she represented as oppressed by her male counterparts? So this is just a test to think about now while you're watching TV or reading books. Like if you see a Muslim character, do they pass or fail the risk test? Yeah, pretty much that's something to think about. And unfortunately, Toyin and I love Marvel and everything, but unfortunately,
they all failed the test.
Failed the test, which sucks. For example, Black Panther failed this test, and one of the first scenes of the movie was like, I love Black Panther, I don't hate it, but there is some hint of like terrorism in like one of the scenes, and there was one character who was saying, "Wallahi, I want to kill this person," and it was in the scene with Nakia trying to save like a bunch of like people from this like terrorist type group. So unfortunately, that failed the test. But hey, we're here. You want to bring out more of Muslim representation, tell you other things that are great. And Toyin has another example.
Yeah, so also to explain, and also in Marvel, I believe like all the Iron Man movies basically fail the tests as well. But again, Iron Man is one of my favorite movies, don't get me wrong, but they do fails the test. And interesting enough, they in the first act of the first movie, if you even remember, I would say like one of the characters that helps Iron Man become Iron Man is a Muslim man, if you think about it. When he's in the cave, hurt and all and trying to, survive and all of that, held against his will to create an Iron Man suit. I would say one of the big influences of that was a Muslim man. So interesting enough. So that's something to think about. You never know where they might appear and all of that. But yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that character is Ho Yinsen.
Yeah, that was his name. And like it was in the first movie, in the first like one of the
first act. So if you haven't seen it in a while, I recommend you see it in a new light.
And looking in the chat, I don't watch Craig of the Creek, but that's really cool that they has a representation in there. And also, what else have I seen? Oh yeah, the book I read You Truly Assumed. I really liked it. I will talk about it later. So keep that in mind. So yeah, so we're gonna talk about some representation we have seen growing up. So we can go to the next slide. There will be some minor spoilers ahead, but there's nothing bad. So the first character I remember seeing is from The Walking Dead. So the first Muslim character I see in the show her name is Nabila. And yeah, we see a Black Muslim representation in this. And she like survives the apocalypse. It's cool.
Yay! It shows that exists post-apocalypse.
Yeah, cool. And it was great to see that because The Walking Dead is like the most popular show on like TV when it was on. So like it's cool to see that, oh, they're gonna put some Muslim characters in it. Unfortunately, we barely see her in the show. So like oh yeah, so Madrid, that's so funny. I understand what you're saying, but yeah. So we barely see her in the show, which sucks because like she'll show up randomly, but then we don't see her for like a whole season, and then she'll show up again. So like I wish we just saw more of her. In the show, she was a gardener and a militia member of the kingdom. If you are familiar with Walking Dead, you might know what that is. But you do see her like get married and have kids with like one of the main characters, Jerry from the kingdom. But like we don't really see her do much, unfortunately. So that's it. But hey, I guess we see someone. She does well. So yeah. Exactly. And the villain survived in the show. She didn't die. So that's
survivor. Cool. Okay.
So another character in The Walking Dead was Sadiq, and I really like this character. And the difference is that he actually showed up more in the later seasons. So Slavier, so Slaviver, that's so funny. Anyway, he actually had a whole arc, which is great. And he had relationships with the main characters. Like Carl was the one who found him and like introduced him into the group. And he became like the main doctor in the show and in Alexandria. And he quotes the Quran a couple of times in the show, which was cool. That's, if you don't know, the Quran is the book that we follow, from like the Muslims follow. And he believes that killing walkers were like free their souls and it's kind of like a mercy for them. And he talked about his mom a lot because now he was alone for a while, so his like mom has died, but mom he much raised him as Muslim and gave him all these teachings and everything like that. Unfortunately, he dies in the show. Spoiler. So, or wish he did not die because like he was doing great once he started getting into the show more. Like when he was first introduced, he wasn't in it as much, but he later got more involved and like became like a series regular. But then just when he was doing a lot and like actually trying to solve like a mystery, pretty much he was part of an arc where we had to find out what was going on, where everyone was getting sick. He needed to know the cause. But then when he found out, he like dies. So it's like sucks. So yeah, sucks was a spoiler, but like I guess the negative was that we have a good Muslim character but dies. So I just want to see more of him survive is my take on this character. So we're gonna show like a little clip.
I hope the audio works. I did click to share audio.
Mhm.
You hear it?
Oh, I don't hear anything.
You don't hear it?
I don't hear anything.
Is it better?
Well, there's no
I
audio.
did click the share audio button. Wait, let me try it.
Let's try like sharing the screen again.
Yeah. And I clicked the share sound button. Yes. All right.
I'm Carl.
Do you hear it?
Yes, I hear it.
Awesome.
So
Sadiq.
this one she was for clip.
Why? I guess you were talking about something your mom said about helping people.
Whatever you have of good, spend on the traveler. My mom said that.
My mom thought or hoped that killing them would free their souls.
Okay.
Okay, cool. So that's his introduction. And I recommend if you want to know more about what he did, you can just watch like a video on YouTube. You don't want to watch the whole show, but like he pretty much says his like whole like pretty much there's a short video of how of his whole story in the show. So if you want to check it out, you can. But was people able to hear it this time, the video?
Yeah.
Cool. Great.
Awesome.
Yeah, and like your comment about how the Walking Dead says plot devising is diverse folks.
Yes.
And them, yes, that
Yes.
sucks. Hey,
Yes.
I think things are getting better, but you'll see. So
All right. So I'm gonna go in and talk about some characters I've seen. So I'm a big fan of the Arrowverse, which are basically like all the DC shows in like on the CW basically. And one of the best shows I would say is Legends of Tomorrow. And like Arrowverse is like approaching its end. And I would say like this show is very impactful in terms of representation. So we have like a character, like a main cast character. Her name is Zari, and she's like a computer hacker, like an engineer as well, which I relate to. And then she also has powers from like an air totem thing, and she's loosely based on like a DC character named Isis, and of course they don't use that name for obvious reasons. And in her backstory, her thing about is that her religion was outlawed in her timeline, and so she was like, her whole family was persecuted because of this practicing a religion and stuff. But then she eventually joins the team of legends on the Wave Rider, and they're time traveling and doing some things. So let me show a clip. awesome thing about this scene is that, of course, we hear words like Ramadan and Iftar. Like I haven't seen that before on TV, and especially at on a mainstream network television show, which is pretty cool, by the way. And a little context about the scene is that all day Zari's fasting, and he has to train this guy how to use the totem. And of course, all day he's eating and, just for comedy sakes and eating pork and stuff and drinking all day, whatever. So it's just funny how she tries to restrain from arguing with him and stuff. Doesn't really help, doesn't really succeed, but it's pretty cool. So yeah, so I really like this character. She's a main character. So she's not just in and out, she's actually here until the end of the show, which is pretty cool. And also, even though some people might complain about this fact about her, but I mean, she does have boyfriends throughout the show and stuff like that. But but you know what? This is representation, and we welcome all of it. So yeah, so I recommend the Legends of Tomorrow, and not even in Muslim representation, but in every single representation you can think of, the show has. So it's just pretty cool.
It's a show I need
Right.
to watch. I heard it's one of the best CW shows. So yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, do you
Um,
know the answer to this question?
Let me see the chat.
Yeah.
Other things. Yeah, wow to see Ramadan on a DC CW show. Yes, that's great. All right. So next character, Castlevania, one of my favorite shows ever. I recommend to everyone. I would say it's a really good show. It's based on a video game. And I would say this character, Isaac, I would say he's one of the best characters, out of the main three, arguably, because he has a great story arc. The animation is fantastic. The fights, the story, amazing. And I would say his character arc, it was the most impactful for me in the show, because he first starts out, working for Dracula. He was saved by him, and he's a forge master. So he basically brings dead souls into dead bodies and stuff, and they help, save, fight for Dracula and stuff. But later on, you see what he does, and in the show, he is mentioned that he's a Sufi, and Sufism is a part of Islam, is the spiritual part and the practice of it and stuff. So
It's not
next,
a sect, but it's not a sect, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's a way of practicing.
Yeah, so also he's Black, so it's nice to see a Muslim representation that's not Asian. So that's pretty cool too. Right. So let me show a nice clip that I really enjoyed. I don't know why that face, if you see it, always cracks me up. But another thing that I love about this scene is, of course, something you mentioned the prophet, and every time you mention a prophet, we say peace be upon him to, honor him and stuff. So it was great to see that in a show, a Western show, just not really probably not made by Muslims, but I'm sure there's writers in there and whatnot. But yeah, it was really cool really cool scene, and also explaining one of our beliefs that we have. And yeah, so I really recommend this show. Earlier in the scene, he refuses alcohol and stuff as well. So that's really cool to see that as well. So even though he's kind of a villain per se, he's still a Muslim. So
Yeah,
oh,
he is a villain, but he kind of does change later on. But I don't want to spoil the show. But
but
yeah.
yeah, one of the best character arcs I would say in the show.
Oh, I like your comment about how it reminds you of Ishbel and Scar from Fullmetal Alchemist.
Yes.
Also another show that anime should watch. It's great. But yes, I do see that. But yeah.
All right. Next show I'm going to talk about is We Are Lady Parts. So if you haven't heard about this already, I recommend it. It is a British comedy about an all-female Muslim punk band, and that's just wild. It's just amazing, and I love music too, so it's cool to see that in this interesting like way, and hilarious song lyrics. There's like a song called Voldemort's Under My Headscarf, like some cool things like that you see. And it's really fun. It's a comedy. So like you'll be laughing your head off. It's open. Of course, everyone loves it. I got a good review, a good reception. And you get to see 5 diverse women. They're not all the same. And you know, they have different ways of dress and things like that. So that was really cool to see. And they also deal with Islamophobia and then like family expectations and you know all of that. But recommend it, and it's on Peacock. Free. It's not free. I think maybe you can get a free trial, binge it in the day. It's not too hard to do.
It's not that long. Yeah, you can just binge it and then like you then cancel.
Yes. So if you want to know more about it, let me show you a quick teaser. So yeah, very good show. I loved it. It was hilarious. So recommend to everyone. And yep, 5 Muslim women, all different. So that's cool to see, right?
Yeah, and it just shows that like Muslims aren't a monolith. We are 1/5 of the world's population, so it obviously can all be. So I like how we have a variety of different representations. And yeah, Yuna is like is like the best character. I feel like she's interesting. But yes, but yes, I recommend the show. It's great and it's short. I hope it has more episodes, but we'll see. I don't know if there will be more, but I love it.
Yeah, in season 2, yeah.
I hope there's a season 2. Yeah. There's gonna be a second season, then that's great because I need more. But yes, I recommend. It's on Peacock.
All right. And then
last character I want to talk about is Miss Marvel. And I feel like this is the character that most people would know about. It's because she's from Marvel and Marvel is huge. So yeah. And in this case, for me personally, Miss Marvel was like the first Muslim character I could relate to in the media, which was interesting. I read her comic first because before it was a show and everything, and I grew to love her throughout my years. As you can see on the right, I have cosplayed as Miss Marvel, if you didn't notice. And the left, it was in MA Boston, and in the bottom right was at San Diego Comic-Con last year. And I went to this huge Marvel photo shoot and Disney Plus was there and they tweeted this photo on their Twitter account, which was kind of, it was really cool.
Awesome.
2 other great cosplayers, Miss Marvel cosplayers. So yeah, and also did like an interview about what Miss Marvel means to me somewhere. It's somewhere in the LA Times. I don't know where it is, but you could find it and search for it if you really want to. But yeah, it was really interesting. And yeah, and in the show, she is a mutant, and the show's on Disney Plus. If you haven't checked it out, yes, please watch. And she's an Inhuman in the comics. So one thing I kind of like dislike was that they changed her powers, but it still looked good in the show. It still looked great. So I'm still all here for it. And she's going to be in the Marvels movie in November, coming out in November with Captain Marvel and Monica Rambeau. So I can't wait for that movie.
And yes, definitely can't wait. I saw the poster. It was amazing. Like, I'm so excited.
So excited for that.
This character is so likable. I feel like a lot of people really enjoy her. You can relate to her. Like, she's a fangirl. I'm a fangirl. So it was just basically like good to see that in the media as well. And in the show, you also see like Black Muslims as well. So it was nice to see other, other.
representation out there.
Mhm.
Yes, it's like one of my favorite Marvel shows out there is Miss Marvel. They did the show really well. The only complaint is that I wish it was longer, but that's it.
Yeah, but yes, just the Disney Plus treatment that she gets. But she's gonna be in a movie, so that'd be great. Also recommend the comics. They're all really good. And she's also like in the Champions as well, which is also a good comic run as well. So
Yeah, she's like the leader of the Champions in the current Champions like run, which is kind of cool. But
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
See
Hmm.
a little clip.
In case you haven't seen it. Yeah.
But yeah.
All right.
So
So,
and
I spent too much.
that is all the characters, but then I'm going to mention some book recommendations for you all. So these books either featured Muslim characters or were by Muslim artists, authors. So the City of Brass series is really good. I recommend and it's a trilogy. So it has 3 books. It's by a Muslim author, but also the book has a lot of Muslim characters and jinns, and it's really cool. And We Hunt the Flame is also a fantasy type book by a Muslim author. It doesn't necessarily have Muslim characters in it, but it is definitely Muslim inspired, Islamic inspired. And then also The Enchanter's Castle is the same as well. It is by a Muslim author, and in the book, the religion in the book is similar. It's like a Muslim adjacent religion, but it's not called Islam in the world. But you can see if you read the book, you can find out that, oh, this pretty much is Islam. And someone mentioned You Julius Lund earlier, and yes, I did really like the book. It features 3 Black Muslims, so that's really cool. We don't really see a lot of that in the media. So in this book, follows like 3 Muslim women's stories and how they create a blog and stuff. So it's really cool.
Mhm.
If you like Rick Riordan, the Magnet Chase and the God of Asgard series has a Muslim like main character in it, which I believe is a really good rep. And The Union is a new book that came out that is by a Muslim author. So I recommend all of these books. They're great. And they're all in like the fantasy sci-fi realm and stuff where you truly assume not really, but like the other ones are. And some graphic novels and manga recommendations. So Sakutoko and Nada is a manga which features is about a Japanese roommate and a Saudi roommate. And both of them are just doing some cool adventures and stuff. And they're both nerds, so that's really cool. There's also Fuda Family, who does great books, great comics about her life, and she's hilarious.
Hilarious. Just follow her page.
You just follow her
Yeah.
page, you just follow her comics. And I like her titles because it's like Huda FRU is a funny title. And Squire also is a great fantasy book, and it's by a Muslim author and a Muslim artist, which is great. So these are just some books and comics, graphic novels to read. Unfortunately, I could not recommend any other TV or animation because I couldn't think of anything else.
I'm sure there's others. I think there's a character in the Justice League. I mean, I haven't seen the show, but I think there is a character in the Justice League, and there's like a character in The Boys. I still haven't seen that show either. But yeah, they're coming up and people aren't enjoying it too. It's like, I don't know, like it's not that hard to include these people in stories, and people can be fine. Like it doesn't, it's just people, so it's cool to see them in all the stuff that we love. Yeah, Glitch Text has a hijabi character, but I haven't seen it personally. But that's like I think it's an animated show for kids, I believe.
Yeah, on Netflix, I think. But yeah, if anyone has any other recommendations you can think of, put in the chat. And if you have any questions for us, we can answer. Yeah. Sakato Nara is great. I recommend. It's really cute. Nice short read as well. But yeah, this is us again. We are Originally Nerdy. 2/3 of us are here. You can follow us on IG, and we have a podcast as well. You can find it and where you find podcasts. And we just talk about nerdy things. And yeah, you can visit our website. We do like manga reviews and anime reviews. We are mostly into anime and manga, but also other things as well. So but
Yeah. And we talk about like where we find like spirituality and the things we love. Like, for
Mhm.
example, like 2 years ago we were at Bridges Con and we talked about like things we see in anime that are like spiritual and stuff. So that was really cool. And of course, Avatar: The Last Airbender has so much in it as well. So I have a blog post about that as well on our website if you're interested.
Mhm.
And yeah, all our links are basically here.
In the bottom
and-
left, but I can try to put it in the chat as well if you just want to like go
Mhm.
straight to it. But
Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, we talk about anime and manga a lot, but we
Mhm.
also like the nerdy stuff too. Yeah.
I don't know if that will work, but you can see if that links works. But yeah,
Mhm.
great. If you have no more questions or anything, I guess you could end. But yeah, thanks for joining. Check out the vendors room at Virtuous Con, stuff like that. And yeah, oh, we do have a question. So can you recommend some children books with a positive Muslim? So not many, unfortunately, that I can think of. There is one, hold on, let me find the name of the one book that I do have that is for kids. If you could just wait a bit, I have to remember the name. But yeah, unfortunately, I don't know a lot of Muslim like children's books out there. I do know, if you know, do you know Ijibad Muhammad, who was she was a fencer? Yes, she wrote The Cloud is Blue. So that is one good one.
Also, like I also see this trend. It's not really a trend, I would say, but at the big comic cons and things like that, there might be a sprinkle in of panels there run by Muslims and stuff. I seeing that more a lot. So it's
Mhm.
definitely like go to those, see if you want to learn more about it, or if you're Muslim, you just want to like be seen at these conventions, yeah, definitely go to like those panels and stuff as well. Mhm.
Yeah, and this is another book I recommend for kids. I just put the link in Goodreads, but yeah, I'm all Unbound. I never heard of it, but I feel like that's a good one. But yeah, any other questions? I see if there's no other questions, I guess we could end here. Thanks again for joining. Go to the vendors link on Richards Con, and yeah, check us out. And you want more Muslim rep out there, so
Yeah, thanks for watching.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So yeah, bye. Thanks for joining.